Like you said, the biggest thing that I took out of it is just try. Don't be afraid to fail. I mean, it definitely did not turn out like we wanted it to, but I'm so glad we did it still. And 6 months we'll be looking back at it, probably have a job and a house and be right back in society where we were before, and we could have just kept going along that road, and or we would have had this very interesting tidbit in the middle. So I'd rather have the interesting tidbits along the way.
Yeah, an interesting story to tell along the way.
Welcome to Alignment Adventures. This is a podcast where we explore what it means to live a fulfilling, aligning, and present life. I'm your host, Lindsay Tanner, and I am so grateful that you are here.
Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Alignment Adventures. I have a seasoned guest back on for round 3, my husband, Stephen Tanner. So thank you so much for waking up from your nap to join me in today's episode. We just put Arlo down for a nap. Stephen was going to nap too, but we've really been wanting to record this episode to share what RV life was like for us before, during, and after. So thanks for coming on, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be back.
Yeah, I was pondering how each time you've been on have been drastically different seasons. So the first time you came on was after we did van life the first time, and we were on a van life high. Still dinking it, dual income, no kids.
Yeah.
Second time you came on was right before Arlo got here, and we were stuck inside and almost kind of going crazy because we had so much time on our hands. Is that funny to reflect back on that time?
Wild times.
And now this time is after we set out to do our dream of full-time RV life, and we tried it, and it was much, much shorter than we thought it would be, and that's okay.
Yeah, it served its purpose for what it was.
Yeah, I think we got exactly what we needed from this trip. So let's just start from the beginning, I guess, beginning, almost from when you were on here the first time. RV life, van life, some type of nomadic life in a small vehicle was the dream for years.
Yeah, so what was, you said the first time, that was after which van life? Was that California or?
Did you do van life in California? Your trip with Eddie?
No, well, we were in California for a day. Pacific Northwest.
Oh, yes. We did go to California for a day. Yes, it was that van trip.
Yeah.
Our Pacific Northwest van trip.
And that was the best trip that we've ever taken out of any vacation, any trip. We didn't want to stop.
Yeah, we really pedestal that trip, but for good reason, because it was so amazing. Like, right. That was the one trip where I truly did not want to go home. I was like, you're going to have to drag me out of this van. This is amazing. I loved every bit of it. And to be clear, I know I've mentioned this before, but we did van life before that too. Well, I guess you could call it van life. It was more like a car in Iceland. Mm-hmm. So we've definitely dipped our toe multiple times into this kind of life, and we loved it, and we wanted more.
Right. I felt the same way.
So through circumstance and flow, it felt like true flow. Your grandpa's RV became available. We bought it. We rented out our house in Phoenix, furnished, and
we went all in.
Yeah, we went all in. We came back here to
quit our jobs
to the Midwest, and you worked on the RV for like a month and a half, 2 months, which was really amazing what you and your dad did. I can't even begin to describe, and you don't necessarily need to describe unless you want to what you did in detail. But basically, he and his dad made it so we could take the RV off grid, and you installed batteries and solar panels, and it was very intense because you had to like basically rewire the RV. So you had been working tirelessly on this RV before we took off.
Yeah, big shout out to Scott Tanner. We spent a lot of time, and then even before that, there was a lot of time preparing to get to that point before even we were still in Arizona. So this has been months leading up to this.
Yeah, so much prep has gone into this in terms of mental and physical blood, sweat, and tears into this RV. But I feel like too, hindsight's 2020. We definitely should have given you a little break before we started. We've talked about this multiple times because you're a little burnt out on the RV going into the actual RV trip. From Lindsay's perspective, she was so excited to just get in the RV and go. Like, I was so excited for that moment when we were finally in the RV. We had all our stuff and we were going to go. But you, I think before we even left, were a little burnt out.
Which I was excited too. Yeah, I was definitely excited to get out there, get on the road. And we were already behind schedule a little bit because some of the upgrades took a little longer than we foresaw in the beginning. But I was definitely excited to get on the road. But yeah, I think you're right. I was also a little tired of looking at the inside of that RV after working on it for a month straight.
For sure. So I kind of wish we would have given ourselves a little time, but things happen the way they're supposed to. So we finally get on the road, and I don't want to spend too much time going into the details of what happened, but let's just say it was like Robin Williams RV meets every other movie about living in an RV out there from the first day. We didn't even get one day of like normalcy. The first night we
started taking punches right off the bat.
Literally, like the first night we had a flat tire. I didn't even know what the sound was. I thought a pipe broke, but it was our tire that blew somehow. You could probably describe more in detail. While we were cooking dinner, thank goodness we were at our campsite. We were stranded on the side of the road, but literally night one, punch in the face.
Yeah.
I think we just felt betrayed by the RV at that first night.
Yeah.
I feel like you did.
After all the blood, sweat, and tears we put into this thing, getting it ready to go and getting it to be off grid and all the upgrades that we did, and then hitting the road thinking we're 100% ready to go, and then night one started with the breakdowns and breakdowns RV wise and mentally wise. It all came crashing down. When you think you put a ton of time and effort into something, and then all of a sudden it's not what you thought it was going to be.
I think that was the wildest part, or one of the most wild parts.
There's a lot of wild parts.
That our mindset shifted so quickly. It was kind of scary, honestly. And I felt, and still feel a little bit to this day, almost just a little lost by that. Like, it was almost like an identity crisis because we had wanted this for so long. And night one, we were already like, what did we do?
Yeah, we dreamt and talked about this for at least 2 years leading up to this. There's so many times when we came home from work, said, all right, we're selling it all, we're getting an RV, we're going on the road. And then night one of RVing, I was ready to turn the bus around and go home.
And I'm sure a lot of people listening, if they've ever done RV life or if you've experienced this, you're like, duh, this is just a part of the deal. And we now realize that to a degree. And what's also interesting is in the preparation for this, we've probably logged like thousands of hours watching people do RV life on YouTube. So it's not like we didn't have any idea. I think I was mentally prepared to have these breakdowns, but they just happened so quickly from day one. So like the first week, I would say, was just us dealing with breakdown after breakdown of thing breaking and us thinking we were on the road again. I think I posted that like multiple times on Instagram. We're on the road again, and then something else would happen, and we'd be in the auto mechanic all day.
Right. And it's one thing too, and we didn't expect a 20-year-old camper to get us from point A to point B for 4 months without having any problems. But every little inconvenience is multiplied by 1,000 when you have a 1-year-old running around in the RV.
For sure. And people had said this in the videos we watched, but it's so true. When your RV breaks down, it's your home. So like you lose your home. And luckily that one day we were in I keep wanting to call it auto mechanics. What's it called?
Just auto shop?
Auto
mechanics?
shop?
Yeah, auto mechanics.
That's right.
Same thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. They had like a decent room for Arlo to play in, but like we didn't have
grungy,
any of our stuff. It was a little grungy.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah. I'm going to mention this multiple times, but I have a YouTube video kind of showing the beautiful footage eventually, but I do have a picture of that grungy room.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time with him in that room.
Yeah.
And mind you, anytime, I mean, was an everyday occurrence. I'm outside trying to work on something, so Lindsay's trying to chase our 1-year-old around and keep him occupied. So we were both pretty maxed out.
Yeah, I think things just really started compounding. So from like day one, not to make your mindset sound worse than mine, but from day one, I think Steven was ready to call quits.
Yeah.
And
if it wasn't for Lindsay, I would have been back in St. Louis after the first day, no doubt.
I remember that first day you were like, we're just going to go back and get jobs. I was like, we can't go back and get jobs. We just started.
Oh yeah. And I'd say that probably happened every night for the first week
or so.
You had to talk me off the ledge just about every night, and then it kind of flipped.
Yeah. So for the first week, I was convincing Steven, no, we're going to keep going. We're going to give this like a proper try. Let's keep going. Now, also from day one, I kind of had this weird pain show up in between my eyebrows where your sinuses are. And I've had many sinus infections, but it just felt so different. I thought it was a migraine, and it kept showing up during the day. And each day it was getting progressively worse. Also, from the first day, and we didn't realize this at first until we talked about it, that moment that I kept dreaming of again and again and again, us driving off the driveway, our first stretch in the RV, I wanted that moment to be something that it wasn't. And we both kind of had like a pit in our stomach, and we didn't talk about it until later.
It was your Walmart moment.
It was my Walmart moment.
If your viewers or listeners know what that is.
I know. I kept talking about this Walmart moment. Actually, we are filming this. Hopefully this works out. So I'll insert a picture. When we did our Pacific Northwest trip in the van, I just had the most magnificent moment at a Walmart, which I hate Walmarts, but it was like the first time we were in the van and we loaded up the groceries, and I was just so happy on cloud nine. So that was my expectation for the RV, that I was going to have this Walmart moment the first day that we pulled out, and there's no Walmart moment. So I've recorded many episodes about expectations and how those can be a real bee sometimes, because they set you up. They just kind of narrow your experience because you think it's going to be this one thing, and then it's not.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, before we left, we talked about what we're going to do every day and how every day was look. And, we were going to wake up every day and do some yoga and, hang out with the kid and, do some workouts, do some nice hikes.
Yeah. I mean, our goal to do this was really just slow down. We wanted to kind of drop out of society a little bit, slow down, not do the status quo of getting up and going to work every day, and like be able to focus on things that were important to us, like spending time with Arlo and doing yoga and relaxing. And none of that happened.
No. We
never had time for yoga. I didn't touch anything with the podcast until like a week after we got back in St. Louis. Like, that was another reason I wanted to do this, was to be able to quit my job and focus full time on the podcast. And I had no time to even think about it. And that made me really sad, because that was my dream. And logistically, I don't know how I would have recorded a podcast in the RV without having Arlo sounds in the background. But so all of this was kind of compounding over the first week. Steven was ready to go back at any point. I was trying to convince him that we needed to keep trying. And another thing that happened, I mean, so many things went wrong in the RV. We eventually got it in good shape, but one thing that never got fixed was the generator.
Right.
So the generator was going to run our AC if it was too hot, because we really wanted to camp, not in RV parks all the time. Like, we wanted to camp in those beautiful, I guess you could say, Instagram-worthy spots where you don't have to plug in. So our generator broke the first day. We never got it fixed until like last week. We had to reroute our trip a little bit. Like, originally we had a different route, but we're like, you know what? Let's look at a map and find the coolest spot. And that's where we headed for. So we finally got to a cooler spot near the Tetons. Hands down, we've decided like the best camping spot we've ever had.
Gorgy.
Ever. Like, just stunning. Rolling hills. We parked right next to a stream. like literally right outside our door.
Right. I would call those mountains. I wouldn't even call those hills.
Yeah, I know. There's a hot debate on whether something's a mountain or a hill. Okay, mountain/hills. Beautiful weather. Perfect weather, like 80s during the day. It got pretty cold at night. Dry climate, so it was just very comfortable. And we're like, let's stay here and just relax for a few days. And like, if we still don't, like, this is the true test if we want to do this.
It's not going to get any better than this.
It's not going to get any better than this.
This is the best spot we're going to find.
And I would say like that first evening was great. Like I did a cold plunge in the spring and that felt so good. And we let Arlo play in the stream and he loved it. Mm-hmm. But starting that night, I keep saying this, like I'm not trying to be dramatic, but the pain that had been getting worse and worse in my sinuses got really, really bad. Like I didn't know what to do. We had some medicine on us, but obviously very limited. And I feel like this is when I started to crack and break down. Like up to this point, I was like, no, Steven, like, God damn it, we're going to enjoy ourselves. Like, I just wanted to enjoy it so bad. Like, I wanted it so bad for so long. And I was forcing myself to enjoy it so much. And finally, my body was like, no, girl.
You're done.
You're done. I kept saying it was like the opposite of that song. Like, my mind was telling me yes, and my body was telling me no. So the pain got really, really bad. And the next day, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of tears were shed on this trip, but like this day specifically for me, breakdown, lots of tears. I was like, I just can't do this. We also didn't have service, and I was having like just the weirdest anxiety about my family. I thought something had gone wrong with them, and they were worried that they didn't hear from us, even though they knew we were camping in remote areas. And it was the most beautiful scenery, and honestly, I never felt more miserable in my life, which was the irony of that day. And we finally I feel like we're a little bit forced to, because I felt so crappy because like my head was exploding. We finally made the decision that like this is not sustainable, and we headed back the other way and slowly made our way back. Well, not slowly. Actually, we went pretty fast to Denver, and bless the souls of my cousin and his wife. We stayed there for a few days where I died. I feel like I died and was reborn again, like the phoenix. And then eventually made our way back to St. Louis. So looking back at it now, I feel like we said before, we got exactly what we needed to out of this trip, because you may be listening and be like, duh, this is going to be hard with a 1-year-old. So like between trying to take care of Arlo, Lindsay feeling like shit, and it just being a lot different than our expectations and things breaking down, like we just couldn't continue on, and we realized like this just isn't the right season for our RV life. But like the thing is, you couldn't have convinced us that beforehand. Right. We had to go and try it.
Right.
And again, people may be thinking like, you invested so much time into researching it, and you invested so much time into fixing it up and money. But I think that's another important lesson from this. Like if something doesn't feel right and it's not aligning, like I talk about all the time on the podcast, it's not aligning. And sometimes you just kind of have to bite the bullet of, we've invested time and money, but like it's not worth our unhappiness.
Right. Yeah, we forced it. We gave it the old college try, definitely.
We really did.
I'm glad we didn't turn around that first day, because then I still think we'd be saying what if. Mm-hmm. But we pushed through. We forced it. We got to the beautiful spot, the Instagram spot that we were dying to get to, and it still wasn't what we wanted. And we finally decided, I think it's time to pull the plug. Yeah.
Which it took us about 2 weeks to get to that point.
Yeah.
To finally be like, we can't.
But now we know. Because I don't think we would have known.
No.
If we wouldn't have gone that far. We went far enough to where I think we both are pretty happy with the decision we've made, and we know even if we would have pushed on and gone farther, we were to the point where we knew things weren't going to change, and it wasn't the lifestyle that we wanted it to or expected it to be.
Yeah.
And plus you got sicker too. So if we would
Yeah.
have pushed on, we would have been in the middle of BFE, Wyoming, and you'd be slowly dying in the RV and I'd be lost.
Yeah. We've talked about that a lot. If we would have continued on when that day, even though I was feeling so bad, who knows what would have happened, because like I said, we stayed with my cousin so he could help take care of Arlo when I was literally dying, or it felt like I was
Ended
dying.
up at urgent care.
Yeah, my eye swelled up. Ended up in urgent care. A whole deal. So something I keep saying too, and I feel like we both live by this mentality, and hopefully this is something those of you listening can choose to have this mentality too if you want, is we would much rather have a whoops moment or an oops moment than a what if moment.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
that's exactly what this was for us. It was a big, I guess you could say whoops, but
But I'm so
now
glad
we
did
know.
it, yeah.
I don't have regrets
No
about
regrets.
it. I
Not a
really
single
don't.
letter.
Not a single letter. We're the Millers, another RV.
Yeah.
No drug dealing on this one. Yeah, no regrets. We literally had to experience this for ourselves. And I think we're going to continue to have that mentality. Like, you can go and do the thing that you're wanting to do and maybe perceivably fail at it, and you survive. Like, we survived. We're sitting here right now, and, you know, we came back, and we didn't think we'd be coming back so soon, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And we tried it, and that's what's important, is like, now we know in our minds, like, this isn't right now. But I do feel like we could do it in the future, maybe.
Yeah. I think when he gets Arlo gets older, definitely give it a second shot.
Yeah.
But that's way down the line.
Way down the line.
It's way down the line.
And two, like, I just want to share my experience too with, like, going from wanting something so bad to not wanting it at all. Like, that
Yeah.
contrast and that flip
It happened so fast.
happens so fast. And just like anyone in that scenario, like, that can feel so disorienting. And like, I kind of felt like I lost my identity. Like, what makes me happy? Like, I kept asking myself that, like, what do I want? And it was scary to not know what you want, because
Because that was the dream for so long.
yeah, we were so sure we wanted this for so long.
Right.
So many lessons from this, and I'm very grateful. And I think the amount of inner peace we feel now compared to how stressed, and I mean, it took us a solid week once we got back to St. Louis, like, to unwind. I went to urgent care, and they're like, your blood pressure is so high. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little stressed.
Right. You're a little stressed out. I lost 15 pounds.
Yeah, Steven lost weight. I feel like I lost weight too, just from being stressed. And so it took us a solid week to kind of get our bearings again. And we're really not in a rush right now either. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, like, what are you going to do now? And I mean, there's the obvious options of going back and getting jobs and getting a house, which I'm sure will happen at some point. But the beautiful thing is, like, neither of us feel in a rush to do those things, which is nice.
Yeah, it's nice not to be in a rush. Just try to soak up enjoying having this time
Yeah.
to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Hang out with Arlo every day. It's been nice. And hanging out with him in a non-stressful place or not stressful way.
For sure.
And really enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I could feel some, like, just to be open and vulnerable about it, like, some resentful feelings coming up towards Arlo, because it wasn't what we thought it would be. And it wasn't because of him. That's just the season we're in. But of course, that's the major difference from the last time we did van life to now. You know, so it just wasn't fair to him for us to be unhappy parents and try to force van life. You know, guys, I say this all the time. Like, I'm just not a fan of forcing. Should is my least favorite word. And of course, we could have continued on and forced it and should on ourselves. Like, we should continue on because we invested all this time and money, but we didn't. And we feel so much inner peace about that. And that's just really nice. I'm proud of us for, like, not continuing on just because we feel like we should have.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point of doing RV life is we wanted to live a certain way. We wanted to slow down. We wanted to enjoy the little things. We wanted to have that freedom of not, being tied to a job or a location or whatever it is. And I think we can still incorporate that lifestyle into this next stage. Like, just because we're not in an RV doesn't mean we can't still have aspects of slowing down, to a degree with a 1-year-old. A lot of the stressors with a 1-year-old didn't completely go away, because anyone that has small children, no, it's just
the way it is.
Yeah, sometimes these seasons are different, and that's also the thing. Like, they're all seasons. Nothing's permanent. But I personally want to incorporate those things that we wanted out of RV life into this next stage, no matter what we do. Like, just having so much appreciation for the little things. A big one that all of us can do no matter what is just conserving our resources. Like, that is something you have to be so mindful of in RV life and van life, because you only have so much water in your water tank, and you don't want to fill up your black tank too much, and you only have so much power. So I feel like that too is just something we can incorporate into our day-to-day, which is good for the earth, good for everyone. And just being appreciative when you turn on the sink and you
have unlimited water.
You have unlimited water, and you don't let it run forever, but you're just so appreciative because you don't have to like go and fill up your water tank. Like, it's just connected to the plumbing, and you don't have to think about it. It really gives you perspective on just like appreciating the little things, like sewage and plumbing and the power bank of your city, wherever the power comes from. I don't even know. Isn't that sad? I don't know where our power comes from. I just feel like we could really still incorporate those themes of RV life into the next stage and into every stage. Do you feel like that's possible?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons learned, and I think we can take all those and incorporate those in life, just like you said.
Yeah. So if you're interested, we do have, or I do have, I put together a video of like the videos we took and some pictures along the way, and I kind of go into more detail of what went wrong with the RV life on my YouTube channel. And then, of course, there's the YouTube channel for the podcast. So that's different. They're connected, but they're different. I feel like people could get confused about that. So go and check that out if that is something you're interested or curious about. And there is some pretty beautiful scenery. Like, that place by the Tetons was just stunning.
Amazing.
And it's all shot from my iPhone, which is also incredible. The new iPhone video quality is
on point.
On point. Sponsor me, iPhone. Just kidding. No, you never know. Someday. But for now, we're just kind of taking it slow. We're easing ourselves back into, I don't want to say society. My rebellious soul doesn't want to rejoin society. But yes, we have rejoined society in a way. But we're also just taking it easy. And I keep saying, like Abraham Hicks always says, flow down the river. Like, we're not forcing things anymore. This trip was a beautiful lesson on how, like, what can happen to your body when you force something. Eventually your body's like, stop, and you just get really sick or whatever it may be. Like, things catch up with you when you try to force yourself to enjoy something.
Yeah, definitely learned a lot about how your mental and your physical are very, very much so connected on this trip.
Totally. I feel like we haven't been people that have had like mental health concerns in the past, but I would say this trip was probably one of the worst states our mental health has been. And that week and a half, our mental health was iffy. Oh yeah, to say the least. Yeah. Like, that feeling of like, you just don't know what you want or like what makes you happy. It felt like a depressive feeling. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel that way anymore. I feel very at peace. And another thing I really want to share and just like give a shout out to is, no matter what like distressed situation we were in, the right people or the right situation or the right, synchronicities of events showed up to help us in those moments. Like, so many, we kept calling them RV angels, helped us. And RV people are the nicest,
super nice,
kindest, most selfless people, I think, because they've all been in that situation of like,
oh yeah, everybody went above and beyond for us. The tow truck guy towing us all over St. Joseph, Missouri, till we finally figured out the tire situation. Then the owner of the RV park helping us out, and then the tire change people getting everything done there, and
yeah,
all of our neighbors at every RV park.
yeah, you'd be like working on something
Getting
in
it
an
all
RV
done.
park because something broke and people would just walk by and show up with their tools ready to like
Trying to help out, yeah. I mean, mind you, it was usually a bunch of retired people that were just hanging out and taking it slow. And
For sure. I think it just reminds me, and I want to share it to remind everyone else, like there are so many good-hearted, kind, selfless people out there.
oh yeah,
I think that can be easy to forget because usually we see the opposite or we focus on the opposite, right? But there were so many beautiful souls that helped us along the way, and I'm just so
Right.
grateful for that. And I want to remember that on this trip.
you want to find some good people. Just pull into an RV park and hang out for a little bit, and you'll be best friends with everybody in 5 minutes.
Truly, they're some of the best people I've ever met. Just so friendly, and just want to connect and hang out. And that was one of my favorite parts. Was just all the people we met along the way. Like we were sitting in Rawlings, Wyoming.
Didn't even know the city existed before.
Didn't even know
last
the
week.
city existed, talking to like locals about their life there. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts about travel is just the people you meet along the way, and you get to see the way that people live. And another thing that I heard from my, I call it internal guidance, your intuition, or whatever, along the way was like, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to experience RV life, and that is the ups and the downs of RV life. Like that is what I, even though in the moment, I'm sure I wouldn't have said, oh, this is exactly what I wanted was, a flat tire or our engine to break down. But it is what I wanted. And now we've had that experience and that feels complete. And now we feel like we can continue on to whatever the next thing it is that we desire.
Yeah.
So I feel like if nothing else from our adventure, from this episode, that this inspires you to try the thing you're wanting to do. Even if you, I'm air quoting here, you can't see it, fail, you'll know whether or not it was for you.
Right. You could have the worst time, but come out on the other end and it still be a positive experience overall and a positive impact on your life.
Yeah.
Even though there were some rough times in the middle there.
I know. Like, I'm sure I didn't think it in the moment, but looking back, I do have positive feelings about it. I was sad there for a while. I won't lie. I was a little heartbroken there for a while. Just like my dreams were shattered.
Yeah, it sucked that it wasn't the awesome trip that we expected it to be. Obviously, we would have loved it to be that way more than the way it turned out. But there's definitely positives in the way it turned out.
Yeah. And another thing I've said multiple times is sometimes chapters are way shorter than you think they're going to be, but that doesn't make them any less significant or any less important on your journey. They needed to happen. So, after listening to this, go do the things you want to go do still. Like, that's always my underlying message. Go do the things you want to do because you're going to learn from it. You're either going to find something that you love or you're going to realize you don't love it. And either way, that's a win in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be scared to fail at something. Like you learn so much when you, I don't want to call this a failure because it's not a failure, but like you learn so much when things don't go the way you thought they would.
Oh yeah.
So much about yourselves. I mean, I feel like our relationship has deepened.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Definitely.
That was something I was very proud of us for. Like neither one of us snapped on each other. I don't think at any point. And we could have easily.
Yeah, I think we both understood how shitty it was for the other person too. Yeah. So it wasn't going to help at all.
Yeah, we were like
stress on it.
There for each other. And like when one person needed the boostering, the other person was the rock and the other person had their meltdown.
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like it's really strengthened our communication. And again, now we have a clear picture of what we want and do not want in this life. And also, if you don't know, that's okay too. Because sometimes I still feel like, well, shoot, I don't want to do RV life. Well, what do I want to do? And still figuring that out. I know the podcast is what I love to do. And bless, I get to keep doing that full time. So we'll see. We'll see where that takes us. But
yeah,
it's been a journey,
to say the least.
to say the least. Our RV adventure, much shorter, but still as impactful.
But here we are.
Here we are.
Safe and sound, love and life.
Yeah. I feel like we've got our zest for life back a little bit.
Yeah.
More
It got dark there for a while, but
It got
we're
dark.
back.
And that's okay. You have dark times. Nothing is permanent, and you can come back and have equally as bright times. As dark as it gets, I believe you can have equally as bright times as the darkest moments of your life.
Definitely.
Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah. Picking what you're putting down.
Any remaining thoughts or sage wisdom on RV life before we wrap this up?
I think we covered it all. I mean, like you said, the biggest thing that I took out of it is just try. Don't be afraid to fail. I mean, it definitely did not turn out like we wanted it to, but I'm so glad we did it still. And 6 months we'll be looking back at it, probably have a job and a house and be right back in society where we were before. And we could have just kept going along that road, and or we would have had this very interesting tidbit in the middle. So I'd rather have the interesting tidbits along the way.
Yeah, an interesting story to tell along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something my soul, it likes having contrast. It likes having different experiences, even if they are shitty experiences. It likes having those experiences, but I know not everyone's like that. But hopefully this still inspired you to go do the things and try, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Well, Stephen, thank you for coming on and sharing this, not only sharing this RV adventure with me, but also reliving it for everyone. I feel like we're kind of over reliving it. Like, you went into depth telling the story to your cousins, and I was like, I don't want to relive every single moment.
I've relived it enough.
Yeah, but we needed to come on and at least share the lessons and put that out there, because I know people are curious. I would be curious, like, what, this girl's talking about RV life and she's already back, like, what's she doing? So thanks for coming on, and who knows, the next time you come on, what season we'll be in.
Hopefully next time I come on, it'll be for something super exciting that we're really excited, and it was a great thing that happened. But we share all the highs and lows. Yep.
That's why it's an alignment adventure.
Yep.
Stephen, again, thank you so much for coming on and for helping me tell the story of our RV adventures. Hopefully you found this interesting, or at least entertaining, and hopefully a little bit inspiring, if not a lot inspiring, to go and just try the things that you're wanting to try. Even if you fail, you're going to take away so much from that experience. I really am unsure of what is next for us. I mean, I have an idea, but my plan myself is to continue podcasting and creating aligning content for all of you on the podcast and on my YouTube channel. That's my plan, to keep doing this full time. So thank you just so much for tuning in. And if you're someone that shares this podcast with other people, I'm so appreciative of that. And if you haven't yet, maybe just message a few people that you think would find this podcast interesting or inspirational to them. And of course, if you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It helps the podcast so much reach the people it needs to. And of course, you can always leave a review if that feels aligning. But I'm sending you all so much love, all the highest vibes. And of course, I will see you in the next episode of Alignment Adventures.